In this video I show you how you can run and test the new Google AI called Gemma 3, which is one of the most recent, powerful and free to use models. What is Gemma? Gemma is a family of Google language models based on Gemini technology, but with open access. Its latest version, Gemma 3, includes multimodal models that can process text or images with a context window of up to 128,000 tokens and support for more than 140 languages. In this video I will show you how to download and run the smallest models, the 1 billion and the 4 billion parameters. For those who are new to this topic, billion refers to 1 billion parameters. The 1 billion parameters model is exclusive to text and has a context window of 32,000, ideal for tasks such as text generation and quick replies. On the other hand, the 4 billion parameters model is multimodal, which means that it can process images in addition to text and has a context window of 128,000. Both models are designed to run on devices with limited resources, making their use easier without having to have large data centers. Now let's see step by step how to download them and run them. In Windows, open your browser, search for LEM Studio, access the first result, click on download or download, and it will start to download. If you wonder what LEM Studio is, LEM Studio is a tool designed to facilitate the execution of language models on your computer, optimizing resources thanks to quantized versions. A quantized version means that the model has been adjusted to use less memory and computer capacity, which allows you to run it on devices with limited resources without sacrificing too much quality in the responses. In the case of Gemma 3, LEM Studio will help us download, configure, and run the model in a simple way, taking advantage of these optimizations so that you can experiment with artificial intelligence locally. Wait for the installer to download. Once downloaded, run the installer and install the program as any other. Once installed, LEM Studio will open at the end of the installer. I will deactivate my animated screen background to have resources available for Gemma 3. An introduction will appear. Click on Skip Onboarding. Now go to the magnifying glass icon and click. Here a list of models that can be executed in LEM Studio will appear, but the one we are interested in is Gemma 3. Click on your model to use. In my case, I want to download Gemma 3 in its version of 1 billion parameters. I will look for the Q8 version, which is a few megabytes heavier and less quantized. That means that its response quality will be better. Once selected, click on Download Model and it will start downloading. Once the model has been downloaded, it will show you a notification window. Now close all windows. In the upper part that says Select Close Model, click on it and look for the downloaded model. By clicking on it, it will automatically start loading it. Once loaded, the configuration icon will appear, and by clicking on it, an advanced menu will open. If you don't know it, my son, better don't move anything. Nothing will happen to the model, but by changing the option that you should not, you can make your Windows have a blue screen. I better explain to you how little I understand it. In max length, the size of the context is modified. This is the total of previous messages that Gemma 3 will be able to remember, and also the maximum of context in general, including answers from the model and the user. This means that once exceeding that limit, the model will stop remembering the previous one or if a response from it exceed the defined context. The model will stop automatically. I leave it as it is without applying the new configuration. Now let's try the model. I start with a low. It has already responded to me quickly, taking into account that my fish is from the year of the broth. Now I will ask you a somewhat silly question, but it requires a bit of logic. What weighs more, a kilo of feathers or half a kilo of lead? Your answer is correct. Now, let's suppose that for the most part they weigh 2 kilos. Which will fall first? Let's wait for your answer. At first glance, your answer is wrong. You will wonder why. Both the lead and the feathers weigh the same. If you do not take into account the air, both would fall at the same time, and if you take into account the air, the feathers would tend to touch the ground and the lead would be the first. But remember that it is an extremely small model. You can see that the loaded model consumes almost nothing. Now we are going to try other things, such as asking for comparative tables. In this example, I will ask you for something related to Linux and Windows. To be specific, I will ask you for table of P. See, with Linux and Windows, the model is starting to create the tables. This way of generating tables is a standard used by all existing models. Now checking the task manager, you can see that the model is not consuming almost resources. On the right side of the panel, you can see that it is only consuming less than 1 GB and half of our RAM. It is also doing a super low consumption of CPU. These models can be loaded using GPU using Linux Studio, but as I am poor and I do not have GPU user CPUs, I will leave my PayPal if you want to contribute to the cause. Maybe it does not fit to buy a graphic, but if for the toys of my Michai, any grain of sand is appreciated. Returning to the topic, you can see that the model is fast. It has precise answers and it works on GPU-free equipment. Taking a look at its answers, I can see that the table is very complete despite the fact that it has not finished answering. Linux is a system that was initially used as a server, but lately it has become a BO. Since there are distros that no longer require the terminal so much, and everything comes graphically like Linux Mint. It has its own program store. It even has support for Flatpak. What I liked was the summary part. It is true that Windows is more shareable since computer manufacturers launched their own drivers, and Linux is the same community that keeps them almost always. In this, it is true that Windows has a wide variety of this. In Linux, there are alternatives, but very unintuitive. It is also possible to run Windows programs that can be done using Wine. Now, I will try the 4 billion or 4B model for the fans. Now, I'm going to load it. This model works moderately on my PC, taking into account that I am recording, and that subtracts resources from my computer. When sending a hello, this takes considerably long to respond. Now what they came. I'm going to download a random image from Internet of Cars to send it to the model. Here I found one of several cars. Now I send it to Leah. I will ask her to see the image. I will advance the minutes since it took to respond around 4 to 5 minutes. When using Vision, it consumes slightly more resources. You can see that it is responding more slowly compared to the model of a billion parameters. The model is responding correctly in quotes since I have no idea of car. But the computer is knowing how to differentiate them. This is all about Vision. You can try it on your computers following the steps of this tutorial. And well, if you liked it and the video worked for you, give me a like and a positive comment. And if it is not much to ask, subscribe for more videos of this type. Goodbye.